Hey, Lucas, did you email me? I didn't get it. All right, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's FOMC day. Oh, you did? Then I did it. Oh, good. Oh, good. I was just worried, man. Sorry. Yeah, for sure. That's always great, right? That's cool. So anyways, game on, right, Bubba? Game on. Awesome. I'm excited for you. Anyways, welcome everybody. It is FOMC day. Wowzer. Could be a turning point. Let me remind you that trading is risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, not necessarily indicative of future results. Please stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, never risk money you cannot afford to lose. My name is Wayne McDonald. I'm a currency trader. I love macroeconomics. I love technical analysis. I love scalping. I love position trading and everything in between. So if you want to learn something, if you got a problem, I'll solve it. Ask questions. I'll do my best to address them. I've done a lot of things incorrectly over the years and learned from them. So you can skip all that pain and suffering if you want, and maybe I can share what my key takeaways from having done a few things right and a lot of things wrong. And you can just learn from that without having to make the mistake. Although ultimately you're still going to need to make the mistake. I don't know why. It's just what we do as humans. But I'm here to share is all I'm trying to say. You're the boss. I am simply a servant. Okay? So, cool. So since I'm working for free, why don't you pay it back, man? Subscribe to the channel, click the like, leave comments, and open an account at tradersway.com. Simple enough, right? Okay. Again, what's the big deal with Traders Way? Well, back when I was just developing a relationship with them, we were hit by the Swiss National Bank. I know you've heard this story before, but I want you to think about it. Other brokers went out of business. Traders Way was fine. That in a nutshell earned my loyalty and respect. But then I thought about it like, wait. Why would giant brokers with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of clients go out of business overnight because of the Swiss National Bank? What happened? Was it possible those big brokers were trading against their own clients? Yeah, maybe. Therefore, they were holding the other side of the trade and they got crushed. I'm like, wait. Traders Way was fine? Why would Traders Way be fine? Oh, well, they actually executed the trades. They're not holding the trades. They're not trading against the clients. They're actually executing the trades. I'm like, cool. That's what I like. So that's how I started. Okay? Thank you, Blue Boy. So that's how I developed a relationship with Traders Way, and therefore I'm like, I recommend that to you. I recommend Traders Way to you. Okay. Okay. So anyways, Johnny's like QQQ and SPY are caught a bid. Yeah, Bloomberg this morning said the stock indices were, what the word did they use? I don't remember. Anyways, up. So that's good. Great. So a couple of things I look around. Dollar's still strong. Yen's still strong. Swissy is weak. Now that's strange, huh? Well, one of the things we were talking about yesterday in the day trading group, and I'm sorry guys, the video didn't get uploaded. We had Windows 11 errors with Zoom, and I even had to log out and log back in the middle of the recording, and then the recordings didn't convert, and sorry. Anyways, I think we're through all that nonsense. But one of the things we're talking about is how to analyze whether the decline in the stock market is risk off or just repricing. And one thing you could do to say, if you're talking about the United States market, you could say, well, what else is going on in the world? Because generally risk off is global, not necessarily just one economy. And so the risk off currencies, the funding currencies, the safe haven currencies, whatever you want to call them. For Europe, it's Swiss franc. For North America, it's the US dollar. And for Asia Pacific, it's Japanese yen. And a lot of people were asking questions about Putin and Russia and Ukraine, and what if this happens and what if that happens? And is the stock market decline related to all that? Well, first of all, 6 months ago, there wasn't a problem, and I predicted the stock market would come down 10 or 20%. So maybe I'm lucky, or maybe it came down and it had nothing to do with Russia. Okay? That's what the media might be telling you, but in reality, it's not. And then looking at this in reality, okay? Well, things are worse now today than they were a couple of days ago when it comes to Russia. And, well, the Swiss franc has been down the last 24 hours. And if it was truly risk off, this would be up. Now, you might argue, well, it's been more up recently. Okay. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is you can use the Swiss franc as a fear gauge for the situation with Russia. Okay? Cool. So just there you go. There's a tip. Okay? By the way, if you're in my day trading group or my swing trading group, we will trade non-farm payrolls. We'll trade the FOMC together this afternoon. We will be in the swing trading group war room at just before 2 p.m. Eastern time. The announcement comes out at 2 p.m. The press conference is at 2:30. So it might be a couple of hours that we hang out today. Okay. Gordon, email Ryan, because Ryan hasn't emailed me, so I don't know what's going on there. And are you logging into the old live website, or are you logging into fxbootcamp.com? Okay. What do I think about it? I think it's nice. Cool. So anyways, let's look at some commodities. All right. I don't believe he's emailed me about it, though. So I didn't do anything about it. No, he hasn't emailed me. Let me just check it out. Yeah. DNS probe finished. All right. So let's go to this. What time frame do we want to analyze? By the way, this is risk on, not risk off. It would suggest stock market up today, not down. Okay. So you get a top. Okay, lower low. Drag it across. Ooh, wrong one. Okay, this one is what I'm going for. Okay, so we're at this point here. So, depends on what time frame you're on, of course. In a scenario like this, you would treat it like a breakout. Now, you have to really discern if you care about that or not, or if you care about that or not. But the biggest decision is this a break? And if it's a break, what you want to do is you kind of want to fib the pullback. What do you think? Okay, you have to choose the time frame, of course, as well. So you might have to let this close and let the next one come back down, or you just catch this pullback here. Now, this is a little bit dangerous because we're all going to have different prices of what the top is. Okay. So looking at this, I might use this as a breakout. You might use this as a breakout, and you would say this hasn't, right? So you'd say, I might say let's say audience number one might say this is broken out. Audience two may say it's topped out, and audience three says it has not done either. How do I buy high? Well, that's what I'm explaining. So in the courses, in the book, and all that kind of stuff, we talk about when you're trapped in a range. So you have a range like this, let's say. Okay, your two options are buy it low because you're a bull and you expect it to come up here, or let me change colors here. Or you let it break out, pull back, and then go. And your second trade opportunity would be here. And so that's what you're trying to figure out, on what time frame and at what price do you set up the move. Okay. What do you stink? Smell like a plan? Cool, huh? Neat. So this is the point where it's going to decide whether it's a double top or a breakout. You know what? Maybe I'll create a new room today. Maybe I'll open up today's FOMC for all members of FX Bootcamp. Video members, day traders, and swing traders. How does that sound? Trainees, day traders, swing traders. Great. Sounds good. Yeah. So I'll have to do that. I'll have to create a new Zoom room. I'll have to create a new event. I'll have to somehow put it on the site. So I think what I'll do is I'll take down the 2022 Outlook and then add that event. So I guess I got some work to do today. I have a busy morning. After our meeting, I got to get some trades on. After that meeting, I'm meeting with lawyers. After that meeting, I'm meeting with contractors. And then I come back, check the market, then maybe puff on a half-smoked cigar from yesterday, and then boom, we got our FOMC meeting. Got to jam that in there. Crazy, man. When will that be? Well, the announcement's at 2, so how about 1:45? All right. So we'll see. This is the moment of truth here to see if this works out, whether it's a breakout or if it's a top. Because remember, we don't all know, so you'll have to make decisions. So let me get that going. La 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 la. Ma 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 ma. So it's trying to figure it out. The interesting thing about this is money coming in and this is money coming out. So the candle started green and then hit where a bear would sell, right? Like if you were a bear, where would you sell? A bear would reverse fib this, of course. And so we're right in what I call fib wars. Now this is like scalping fib wars. But it's pretty binary at this point. There's either going to be a lot of bears selling here or there ain't. Now, maybe they sell a little bit higher or something, but it's one of these scenarios where they will or they won't. If there's not a lot of bears there, then this will go up and make a higher high. Okay? Because bulls bought it here and here and here and here. This would just be another opportunity for them. But at this point, though, they would be breaking at least some form of resistance, right? Do, 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 do. Boom, 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 boom. What do you think? Boom, 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 ba-da-da-ba-ba-doo, ba-da-da-da-da-doo, do-do-do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do, dun, 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 ba-da-doo-boo-boo-boo-boo, boo-boo-boo-boo-boo-boo-boo-boo-boo. Boop, 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 boo, doo, 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 doo. Oh, doo, 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 doo. Doo, 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 doo. Pip lovers waiting for the 21 EMA to catch up. What, on the 5-minute chart? All right. All right, let's see what you said. Everyone's changing now. Wait. I changed my answer to yes. Anyways, okay. Now the next test. Now you got to change this. You got to kill your fib. Kill your fib. Kill your fib. La la la. Okay. Well, the next, Brinsley says 90 is the next resistance. Well, I don't think we've technically finished this breakout. This technically can still fall. So it really comes down to how the market reacts to this level, because ultimately it's not a true breakout until we do something like that. Hello? Okay. Demal says, hey, where do you think about Aussie yen? Well, dude, you should be thinking about CAD yen. Why should we be thinking about CAD yen today and not Aussie yen? First of all, we're watching oil maybe make a higher high. Anything else? North America open, so the timing's better for a North American currency. What else? The Bank of Canada is probably going to raise interest rates this morning. Today. Okay. What time does that come out? $10 o'clock. Okay. Okay, so anyways, Bank of Canada, so CAD's going to move today, dollar's going to move today, and I think the U.S. stock market's going to move today as well, and that'll impact the Japanese yen as a funding currency. Okay. So I think you want to focus on those types of things. So maybe not so much Aussie. Well, look at that. Windows 11. Thank you, Microsoft, for such a big update. They made the corners curved. Yeah. They made $40 billion last quarter. Amazing. And with all that money, they do things like, we will make the windows have slightly curved corners, and then we'll call it Windows 11. Okay. Pound and dollar are quite strong. Okay. Yen and euro are quite weak. All right, that's fine. That's great. Great. But we got our own indices. Euro is weak. You probably find that easier to read. Pound is strong. We already know that. Dollar is strong. Okay. So I guess if you want, we can go look at yen pairs. Okay. So we just did a breakout trade on oil. Let me delete this. Let me delete that. And let me try to delete that gray area. Okay, that's from old analysis. Let's delete that. I'll leave the zigzag on. But I wanted to get to this point. Okay, we were just talking about breakouts, right? So we'll call that a breakout area. Okay, drop into a smaller time frame, even a 5-minute if you want. Okay, and we're only talking about this area here. What used to be resistance, okay, is now support. So what I was talking about on how to enter a breakout trade, okay, this is what you're looking for. You see? That's your trade. Yeah, but Michael, Windows 7 is probably better, but also Windows 97 is probably better. I think the best they ever did was probably Windows NT. Do you guys remember Windows NT? Yeah, Win 7 was fine. All right, so anyways, do you guys want to trap it again? This comes down to your decision. To me, the decision is trap it or not pulling the trigger or not. Okay? So it's like, is that a breakout or not? That's your big decision. Oops. So I can change this now. If it won't let me. It won't let me. Weird. Oh, it goes that far back. No wonder. How come it won't let me grab it? Oh, it's the zigzag. Okay, ignore the zigzag, I guess. Go back into the 5-minute. Visually, you're probably looking at it this way. Okay? Or, let's get it out of here. Let's get it out of there. Insert indicators, custom. Price action pivot points. Maybe we'll use that. Okay, and that helps you decide whether you believe it's going to trend up and through resistance. If you believe it's trending up and through resistance, okay, then you're kind of watching these breaks. Now, it's not getting through very well, is it? So we'll have to pay attention to see. And that's the biggest decision, especially on the smaller time frames, because really what we're talking about now is scalping. Okay, you probably know that you want to, if you believe that we're in upward direction, right? That's what you're looking at. And you're probably going to look to buy somewhere down here. And that's exactly what the statistics are trying to show us. That the decision you're making, however, because that's not much of a decision, right? The decision is, do we have a breakout or will we have a breakout? Because this looks sideways and this looks trending. You see? So right now, your big decision is, has it done this? It's struggling. It might just do it anyways, and you get lucky. Or are you going to play the bottom of the range? Okay. Is it a breakout or is it a pullback? Breakout or pullback? Okay. Those are your two opportunities when you're scalping. So this goes to the person that was asking about Aussie yen. Yeah, Michael, I remember I learned my first computer was an Apple IIe. Not mine, the school. Probably kindergarten or first grade, I was doing multiplication tables on an Apple IIe. That's also when I was discovered as a model. Then the second thing, later on, probably around 6th or 7th grade, Macintosh came out. And I remember playing something called Maelstrom, which was basically asteroids for Apple products. And you would boot the machine, great. And then you would put a floppy in. It was a big floppy. And then later they had hard floppies, but it was still the big floppy. And then you'd load the game, and then you'd take the floppy out, turn it upside down, and put it back in to run the game. You'd load the game, and then you'd run the game. Okay? Golden Surfer. Hey, a little crypto tip. Phantom, it's the future. That's not a tip, dude. You started with the Tandy. Was that Cobalt? A Tandy Model 3. Interesting. Okay, so anyways, I hope you appreciate us. TRS DOS. I don't even know that DOS. Interesting. Yeah, 48K of memory. The first laptop I bought was a PowerBook 145B. And I believe it was a 440. Okay, 4 megs of RAM. 40 megs of storage. Hard disk. I'll just put hard disk. Okay. And on that, I had Office, a few games, and I had a database. It was something like 3D or 4D. I can't remember the name. Something. I had some big database stuff. And later I was hired at Cisco Systems to be a DBA slash marketing person in the marketing department. But what I'm getting at is, Brinsley, is it wasn't slow. It was more than enough. It was more than enough. It was a great computer, one of the best computers I've actually owned. And I taught myself HTML. And let's see, I was working at Cisco. So before that, I was working at Apple. And I was thinking about that, where I was learning about client-server architecture. And that was a new thing. And so at Apple, once I graduated Apple University and became an Apple technical coordinator, one of the things I did is build a library for my coworkers. So I got a budget and I built a library so people could read. And the reason I did it is, of course, I was being selfish like Mother Teresa. I built this library for all my colleagues so that I could buy the books I wanted to read, like client-server architecture 101, because I'd heard all the tech guys talk about it. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. So I got my bosses to pay for the books, and I knew no one was going to use the library. So I'm like, I'm going to build a library. And they're like, yeah, that sounds really good. Great. So I bought a bunch of books that I wanted to read and built a library. Nice. All right, moment of truth. But back then, that computer was even old by then. But I can tell you, at San Jose State in 1993 or 1992, I was the only one with a laptop. Think about it. I'd go to class, 100 people in the class. I'm the only one with a laptop. Then I bought a Ricochet. Does anybody know Ricochet? By the way, another scalp. Great. So I had this thing. Basically, it was like a cell phone, bigger than a cell phone, about the size of a coaster for your coffee cup. And it would Velcro to the back of your laptop, to the lid, and it had a little antenna. So I'd go to a cafe. This is like 1992, 1993. I'd go to a cafe with a laptop. People would look at me like, is that a computer? So you have to understand how early this was. They're like, is that a laptop? Is that an Apple laptop? You have one of the Apple laptops? Yeah, PowerBook 145B. Now the Ricochet, you know what it did? It gave me internet. So I could sit at a cafe. This is before Wi-Fi, guys. Like you wouldn't go to a coffee shop and they would have Wi-Fi for you. There wasn't Wi-Fi. Everyone was still on dial-up. So I'd sit in the cafe, have a latte or a cappuccino, because I was young and sophisticated and good looking, as well as modest. And I'd have my laptop, which would stop people in the tracks. And then they're like, what's that thing on your laptop? Oh, I'm connected to the internet right now. And they're like, but there's no wires. Where's the wire? And where's the modem? I'm like, that is the modem, but there's no wire. How does it get the internet? Oh, from cell phone towers. And people didn't even have cell phones. I had a cell phone, but my laptop was connected to the internet through a mobile connection. And it was just amazing. Just amazing. But I needed that stuff at that time. I was managing a couple of hundred people, and the following year I was managing a few thousand people. So I needed to be connected. I was writing newsletters and sending them by email. I was going to the World Wide Web. What was the baud? I don't remember. I think it was greater than 44, but right? 44.4, remember that? It might have been 44.4 is the first thought. It was not bad, actually, because there wasn't much of a difference. Right? Like the hardware, let's say the landline hardware wasn't much better than what mobile could do there, because, you know, I mean, it was all new, right? Like even just having routers and stuff. So after Apple, I went to Cisco because that's what they were doing. I was very interested in the internet side of business. And so I worked at Apple for a while. And then I worked for this tiny little startup because I knew someone from the nonprofit world that was working at Cisco. And Cisco, there was an article written about Cisco that it had more millionaires per capita. You know, more employees were millionaires at Cisco than any other company in the Silicon Valley. And they just moved out of the old Netscape trailers and got their own buildings. And so anyway, I did what I had to do, and suddenly I was hired. And so I was working at Cisco because they were on the other side of it, where I was working at Apple and they were on the front end. They worked with clients. They were retail, so to speak. Like they were showing Apple users that there was this thing called the internet. So I was interested in that. The second thing, then I went to Cisco and I was interested in, like, they were selling the routers and the bridges. They were selling the hardware that made the internet work. And to give you an idea, I worked in the marketing department for this company that makes hardware for the internet. They made the internet, right? Half of their suppliers and resellers, more than half, you had to fax them. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. They're selling the most advanced internet hardware in the world and they fax? What the hell? Why don't they have the internet? We sell hardware for the internet. How come they don't have the internet? Like, it's just imagine that. Just imagine that these VARs could only respond by fax. So I said that was stupid, of course. So I sent out an email. Here I am, like, I don't know, 21 years old or something. I sent out an email to 50,000 value-added resellers of Cisco equipment. And I sent them an email, and I'm like, you respond to this email, to the email. Not by fax, not by phone. You respond to this email to show me that you're using the internet and that you basically you have our products. Or I stop sending you stuff. I'm not going to send you sales literature and sales material and marketing stuff. And I'm not going to send you price sheets and fact sheets. And I'm basically cutting you off. If you still use fax, F you. That was one of my first moves. Cisco just hired me. And I sent an email to 50,000 VARs. If you don't use the internet, I'm cutting you off. F you. Go somewhere else or get the internet. And let me tell you, it was amazing, the response. Xerox, yeah. Well, that was Xerox Park, right? You're talking about Xerox Park. And yeah. I do remember the early Macs, and I remember being at a high-tech industry kind of event, and people were like, they had a Mac, and this is what they would do. They would load Paint, and they're like, you can use this mouse, and you can do this. That's the only thing it really did. That, and then someone else would come along, they're like, and you can change the color, and people would just do this. And then someone else like, wow, and then you could delete it. And that's all a Mac really could do. But people were blown away by it. Two things. A, it was really small. It wasn't huge. It was just a little white cube with a little gray screen and a little mouth for you to shove floppies into it. And it had a little white mouse. And it had a graphical user interface in which you could do things like draw squiggly lines with paint. And that's all it really did. And it just blew people away. Yeah, Jimbo. Yeah. And that's when I was teaching myself HTML, because that was brand new. I decided to teach myself HTML because the web started to have pictures. So it was actually funny because you would write in text, this is what I think. This is what I think. Okay. You would actually type that out and it would just be text. And then you'd use HTML, right? Right. To add an image. And then you'd have a picture of what you think. It's really primitive, I'm telling you. So it'd be like picture, text, and then you'd go to Yahoo and say, okay, I want to look at things on the internet. So I'll go to Yahoo, and they just had a list of places you could go visit. So anyways, we were talking about this, was it yesterday, guys? Where 30% of you thought cryptocurrencies were not viable. And I'm like, that's like looking at the internet going, dude, you go to Yahoo, you find a bunch of links you can click. That's all it was. It didn't even think. You just it would organize the links. So you're like, okay, I'm going to click this link. You click this link and it takes you to a picture of someone writing an essay about their cat. And they would have a little picture of their cat. And this guy would write this diatribe about how cats are going to rule the world and why dogs are bad and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, huh. And you're like, it's weird. It's sort of like going to Reddit and someone has a 27 paragraph response to a one sentence question. And you're like, wow, this guy has done a lot of research, right? So anyways, if that's that, and so you might come in and say, I've seen the internet. I've looked at it. You might even bought a router and have a computer at home. Okay. A 486 DX with the microcode processor. Holy smokes. So you got yourself a 486 DX and a 14.4 modem. Actually, that's probably too fast, right? And anyways, and you went to Yahoo, you clicked on a few links, you looked at these things, and it looked really stupid, and you realized this computer cost you $2,000. This cost you $400, and you got to pay money every month. And you look at it, and you're like, the internet's stupid. It's not worth the money. And you don't participate in the .com days. Yeah, I had a 386. My dad got a 486 DX, and I only had a 386. That was my first computer. So anyways, be careful with Bitcoin for those that 30% think it might fail. You might be right, but you're probably not right. And what you're looking at it is you're judging it for what it is now, but not what it'll be in 20 years. $80.88. Well, that's where it all started, right? I mean, think of it. Steve Jobs, Wozniak, Bill Gates, they all had the 8088 and they got it out of the back of a magazine. That's where it all started. I think a friend of mine had an 8088 and I didn't quite get it. I didn't really get it. Like, what do you do with it? I just remember, like, because you couldn't do much with these things. Well, you could, like, type with it, and you could have it do some, like, calculations. I'm like, well, you use a typewriter or a word processor. By the way, a word processor was a machine. It was like a typewriter with a little screen on it where you can see 5 lines. So I'm like, well, you could just have a word processor. And if you need to do calculations, you'd use a calculator like everybody else. Like, I didn't understand it, but a friend of mine, he did get one. And like I said, I didn't understand the purpose. I didn't get the purpose. Okay. And it doesn't fit my personality anyways, right? Like, I know enough about technology for me to hire people that are fabulously smarter than me to work for me in my vision. Okay. Cool. So we're sitting on these little tiny little pissy little scalps. All right. All right. Now let's contrast and compare maybe to Kitty Cat. And Kitty Cat is trapped. So you want to, again, decide how to trap it. I think it's the biggest part of the decision. How do you trap it? Where do you trap it? Okay? For example, a bear is going to say this is a lower low, so they're going to sell a lower high, right? So that might be how it's happening. But a bull is going to look at it differently, aren't they? So as you go along, okay, let me just change this template here. Okay, as you go along, you can adjust, right? So you can call this a bottom, and you can call this a top. And you keep adjusting as you go. Okay? So again, we're just scalping here, nothing big. So if we breach lower, and it looks like we are, you're going to catch this little micro pullback and play the continuation. Okay? You understand the logic? And they were all yellow. I hope you don't mind that we're just sitting on these pissy little scalps. I haven't done this in a long time. I thought it'd be interesting in a day with long-term macro fundamentals in play. I think all we have is the small time frame. Your skin, your skin and bone turn into something beautiful. I hope you know that I love you so. Oh, that I love you so. So 4 p.m. NASDAQ was 13,900 and now it's 14,500. Sweet. Overnight's been good. Okay, hang on with this. Okay, this is why I said the most important decision is your bullishness or your bearishness. Okay. Anyways, I'll put it back on the one. I just didn't want you to lose sight of that. So that's good. So it's up 2% overnight. I bought NASDAQ not quite 24 hours ago, 23 hours ago. So I think what happened is NASDAQ dropped 2% yesterday, and then I bought it. I also bought the S&P 500, so we can look at that. That was down, I think, 2% yesterday at some point. And I bought it, and then at the end of the day, I was up 2%. So I bought it right off the bottom. So Tuesday? I don't know then. I don't know where it was. I don't know. So go back here. Overnight, the market closed 4,300, and now we're up a little bit, 4,400. Hey, it's something. So we'll see where it goes from here. But you can see at that point down 1%, and this point up 1.5%. Okay, it went from full negative to a full positive. Very nice. So hopefully something interesting happens. The way I'm thinking about it, and of course I could be wrong, but let me explain what I'm thinking. I've read the meeting minutes. I've read the beige book. I know what they looked at. I know the data they looked at. I know their concerns. I know their discussions. So I have a belief, a conclusion of how they're going to behave this afternoon. They, meaning the FOMC, and then, of course, Powell's the one that gives us the news. Okay, great. And I think they're not going to be as hawkish as everybody thinks. I think they're going to be cautious. I think Powell, in particular, still believes much of the inflation is transitory. He just can't say it. So he stopped saying it, but he still believes it. Okay? So I think they're going to come out and they're going to say slow and steady, steady and slow, which would, I think, create a relief rally in the stock market that, yes, interest rates are going up, but not quickly. Oh, thank God. So that's why I bought yesterday. It's not an opinion and it's not a guess based on my research. That's what I stink. Okay. So now that we have this trapped and realize that we got that, dare I say, big bottom, when it comes to scalping, you know, these changes are what's interesting. So if you want to call this a trend on a 1 minute, you can call it on a trend. Okay. And a trend, you're going to play like this all day until that ends. So statistically, you're going to say, well, that's what's going to happen. Now, of course, trends change direction a lot on a 1 minute chart. A little less on a 5 minute, much less on a 15, much less on an hour, so on and so forth. But you wouldn't scalp an hourly chart. So if you're only going to look at a 1 minute or a 5 minute, that's basically what you're doing. Is you're trading what should continue if the trend lives. Okay, right now this is that. But the next part of scalping is when has there been a change of trend? And that's why you mark this. Okay, and this could get interesting this way. Okay, remember it's scalping because it's omnidirectional. Okay, it's trend agnostic. Look at the stars. Look how they shine for you. All the things you do, and they were all yellow. All right, moment of truth. Breach or bounce. Okay, and you might notice too, how I use like the moving averages, for example. When I'm looking at that, I'm trying to only be a bull. And then when I'm looking at that, I'm trying to only be a bear. And it's pretty good. What's up, Casey? Well, it's about 9:12 and a half. 9:30 is the open. Key turning point in the market. Moment of truth. It's nice to have these little orange lines in the sand, huh? King says, hey, man, I've been watching your stuff from 2015. How about 2005? Go back another 10 years. I think of 2015 and I'm like, that's not even an important year. In 2008, I think it was, I put 2 golf holes in my backyard. And I joked that the pound yen paid for them. But it was really cool. Because you'd hang out, we'd grab a couple of beers and go to the backyard. You'd have to walk through the forest, and then you get to a clearing. And there was 2 greens about, I don't know, less than 100 yards. Probably 75 yards, which is a weird distance for a golfer, but that was part of the fun. And I had all these wedges, right? 60-degree wedges, 58, 56s. And we had buckets of golf balls, and it was cool because, like, my wife would take our little babies on little stroller walks, and they'd come to a garage sale, and there was always some buckets of golf balls you could buy, and they'd buy the whole bucket. So, anyways, you'd go, and what you do is, you'd hit and try to stick it on the other green, and then you'd go down to the green and you'd pick up, you'd each get like 10 golf balls, and then you'd hit back to the first one. And it was just like lawn darts for I'm thinking of a derogatory term for people that would do this, yuppie a-holes, right? It's like lawn darts for yuppies, but it was fun. But I always thank the pound yen for that. So I was thinking like 2008, 2009 was more interesting than 2015. Yeah. Okay. Now, I'll give you some secret sauce here. I like to start typically scalping in a different zone than we're in now. Okay. And I typically look at the 4-hour and daily chart before I scalp. That's my secret sauce. So I think we're kind of in the middle here, right? For example, sellers sell high. Okay, buyers buy low. And we're sort of in nomad's land, right? So like on a higher time frame, you could probably trap it this way, right? And so our little pissy little trap in here is statistical noise and doesn't have any meaning. But you could break this down a little bit and say, all right, on the daily now, what do we have? So now I'm only looking at this candle. Okay, and you could say, well, I got a 21.55 up, and this is the first retracement, so there's probably going to be an expansion after this, and the 21 is going to rotate up, and the 55 is going to straighten. And of course, you can look at that and your MACD. And okay, so you know the MACD is above the waterline here. MACD is going up, MACD is going down, and then we're expecting a MACD to do one of these things. Okay, you guys can see the MACD, right? I'll enter it for you so you can see it. Oh, did the wrong one. There's the MACD, okay? MACD is up, but coming down. Cool. So, right, here's the MACD, by the way. So what we're expecting here is something like this to be next. If that's your play, I'm not telling you that is the play. I'm telling you, you need to decide whether that's your play, because both of these oscillators, both the stochastics and the MACD, they're doing two different things. The stochastics is looking at the candles and the lower lows and the higher highs that each candle is made. Okay? So lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, bearish, right? Higher low, lower high, right? Higher low, higher high. So you should be able to just notice that and calculate stochastics in your mind. And you'll say, hey man, but I don't know how to do those calculations. Well, then you don't know what the oscillator's doing. So why use it if you don't know what it's doing? Oh, well, I trust it. Stop trusting it. Okay. So anyways, so you look at this and you make your decisions. Okay. Then you would break this down and say, okay, well, first of all, you know we got a problem here. That's obvious. But then, okay, now you drop into a smaller time frame. Let's say even a 5 minute. Well, hang on. Let's go back to daily. And you kind of want to mark this. So the daily top is the issue here. And your next choice is, do you mark this? Or do you mark this or this? Okay, let's do this for now just to keep things simple. Okay, so how would you treat this as a bull if you thought this was going to make a higher high and go to at least 92, for example? Okay, how would you treat that? Well, you would want to fib it, right? You'd want price to come down a bit, and then you'd want it to go up. Am I correct? So you could look at that range, and maybe you say, this is an area of interest for you. And then you drop into the 5 minute, and you play that out down until there's up. Okay, so what are you really doing? Let's make this even more simple. Okay, up to 91, down to 90.50. And then up to 92. Jimbo says all indicators do the same thing, measure the rate of change. I'd be careful with that statement. It's too broad. Nothing always, right? So, but many indicators, most indicators, you could say, even most is too strong, but many indicators, they're just different statistical analysis, statistical formulas for measuring rate of change, for sure. Okay. But like, if we were to, let's see, what do I have here? I don't have a lot. Anyways, I'll just leave it at that. All right, cool. Okay. How about this setup for scalping? Do you like this setup? Okay. Okay, remember on a higher time frame, this is the challenge, and a breach of that really puts us, basically targeting that 200. That's a big rate of change. But remember, on an hourly chart, that's not a big deal. This is still very much bullish, but a bear might say, well, it's bullish until about here, in which the touch of that future 21 is the new support. So a bear scalper now, we're talking about scalpers, okay, they recognize this is bullish, but that this is going to happen. Remember, they're trend agnostic. So they're like, well, it's still going to drop 50 pips, and then I'm going to buy it. Now notice they're doing the same thing that I just did using completely different tools. They're now targeting 90.50. Okay. And then a bull's going to want to buy 90.50 and take it to 92, but that's a day trade, not a scalp. So the day trade is probably something close to 90.50 to 92. It's only 150 pips. It's not that great. Okay. Okay, so you, right, put that kind of in that context. So I'm hoping for risk on, actually. So I believe much of these things are actually going to go up by the end of the day, if not very, very soon. Okay. So I'm actually a bull, which means I might be on a 5-minute CAD chart, and I see what a scalper is going to do. And I see the vulnerability that I have, that this could drop to 90.50. But then again, I have a market open. So I know new money is coming in 4 minutes. Okay, so market open is equal to new money or money out. So it's either money in or money out. Usually I don't know. Okay, but I hope, most of the time the market goes up, because most people make money when the market goes up. So I might sit around here and say, well, this is set for a bear scalping to come all the way down. So at the market open, if it decides to just say, screw that, we're going north. Now, as a long-term bull, and as someone positive on what's going to happen to CAD in a couple of hours, and what I think should happen on the yen, and what I think the stock market's going to do, all that stuff presupposes where I discount this, and I'm waiting for that. And that's not scalping anymore. Because now I'm opinionated. I'm not trend agnostic. I'm a bull. So I have to filter that and say, well, as a bull at the market open, I'm going to look for an op this way, or I'm going to look for an opportunity down here. Okay. So I'll play around with this, and I'll change my, okay, how about day trading bullish bias? Okay. And what does that say? You see it? What does that say? How funny, huh? Down to 90.50 and then up to 91.50. Well, so now I've done the same analysis 3 different times. And they all say much of the same thing. Scalp it down, day trade it up. Could be interesting. Now, of course, the opposite can still happen, so don't get all lazy on me. Okay? Because it could do one of these things. It could hit the target and then fall back. So be it. Thanks, Dwayne. So I was thinking about doing a Forex conference where we get together in a nice hotel, do some training, hang out, have a steak dinner and some cigars and all that kind of stuff, some nice wine. So let's meet up in Ghana. You guys want to go to Ghana and do a Forex? Alex's looks like very risk on. Maybe not yet, or maybe at the open, but anyways. Yeah, so you said, Wayne, I've been trying to reach you. Got 5 minutes. Yeah, but by the way, is the live site is down, huh? I didn't know. Someone told me last night, and then I forgot about it, and I didn't. But yeah. Yeah, I got an email from you a couple of days ago, and I just wasn't available at that time, and then I got buried. Yeah, I'm joking. Someone logged in and was trying to tell me how rich Ghana is and how poor America is. But yeah. Let's talk. Here's what I'm doing after. I need to get some trades on. I have a meeting with an attorney at 10. Meanwhile, probably that same time, I have a contractor coming in, probably 10:30 and all that kind of stuff. So, but let me get some trades on. Yeah, let me get some trades on, and maybe in 15 minutes we can meet. Yes, there is audit. Can we meet in 15 minutes, Ryan? I got to get some more trades on, right? Yeah. Well, it's just like, it's either that or it's going to be like noon. And then pretty soon I got to do my FOMC work and stuff. But let's try 15 minutes. But I'll have literally less than 15 minutes because I'm scheduled for that conference call with the law firm. So, yeah. Cool. All right. So let's go back. This is our Aussie yen scalp down. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. No. By the way, everybody, Ryan leads our day trading group for the pre-European session. So he spends an hour with everybody setting up essentially the London Open. And he's very, very, very good. Yeah. And I don't know. I think he joined FX Bootcamp as a member. I don't know, 10 years ago, something amazing. Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, we added Ryan's time, which is quite valuable, extremely valuable, and I did not raise prices. So for people that are in the day trading group, I doubled the value and kept the price the same. You're welcome. Been with me, it's been 6 years, right? Yeah. Great. So anyways, we have a little scalp session going today. We'll see how this goes. So down and then up. Cool. So let me check a couple of things. So the pattern that's been going the last few days is, for the stock market at least, is down at the open, up before lunch, down in the second last hour, and then up in the last hour. Excuse me. So, anyways. So yeah, I got to go. I have a busy day again. But I hope you guys don't mind that I spent the day scalping. Thought I'd mix it up a little bit. I hope I reinforce things that you've already learned, because all of that is at FX Bootcamp training courses. Some simple price action, understanding support and resistance, and being trend agnostic in the short run. But I tell you, I try to sort of smooth out the curves of scalping by paying attention to the daily chart, the 4-hour chart, coming up with plans based on that. So again, if you can see, I have this set short and then long. Okay, so I take the scalping that's trend agnostic, but then I try to filter through that and add my bias. I like adding my bias. Okay? Because if you don't, the problem with scalping very often is you do this, and you're making money, and then it does this, and you lose them a couple of turns. So what most people do over long periods of time is if the move was up before, then they lose money here, they lose money here, then they make money here, they make money here, but then they lose money here, lose money here. And you look at 100 trades and maybe 25% are winners. Okay? Or let's say even 50% are winners. 50% are winners. What's the problem? Because you never let your winners run, you did all those trades and you made no money. And your Sharpe ratio sucks. Now, even if 70% are winners, you know what happens? Your Sharpe ratio still sucks. You're a peasant. Nobody wants to invest with a peasant. Rich people hate poverty. Ugh. They don't like it. You work for a living? You have a job? You're concerned about money? You're talking to me about money and getting rich. That's the way to turn a wealthy person off. So you got to how can you take that same knowledge and improve your Sharpe ratio and not be so concerned with money, but instead be concerned with value? And you say, well, I look at this chart and I've analyzed it on the daily point of view, So before I go down to a 5-minute chart or a 15-minute chart, I think this is going to happen. And then you set that up, because now it drops by 30, but then goes up by 75. And you collect this. And of course, if you're really astute, you let that run for 4 days, not for 4 hours. But for that, you're going to need macroeconomics, fundamentals, central banking policy, understanding all of that. But of course, you're on YouTube and the kids love the scalping. And it's much more exciting, right? Well, there's no value creation. So I'm a bull on the yens, even though those were set down. I'm a bull on all the yens. And maybe, just maybe the dollar pairs, maybe the dollar pairs as well. Maybe we get what I want out of FOMC and the dollar's weak today. I don't know, of course. But that would be great, because then I'm back onto my long-term fundamentals and not sort of this repricing. It's not risk off, but it's just this repricing volatility corrupts my macro strategy, because high volatility is not a friend to a macro strategy. Do you think they will raise interest rates this time? I don't think. I'm a currency trader. I have conclusions. I'll tell you what. Why don't you read the Beige Book and the Fed meeting minutes so that you can come up with an answer like that? If you don't have an answer, then you're not doing it right, and you should probably stop. And with that, much love. Got to bounce. That was real. Have a great day. By the way, if you're in my video group, in my day trading group, or my swing trading group, I will meet you. I'm going to create a room. I'm going to create an event. We're going to meet at 1:45, and we're going to watch the FOMC announcement and the press conference together live. All you have to do is be a member of FX Bootcamp. I will create all of that, and I will see you this afternoon. And that's free of charge, because I love you. You're my sweet baby, and I want to take care of you.